All right, let's get started. So this week, let me just start with, let me just start with a brief introduction. My name is E, and my email address is yil23@uci.edu. And if you want to email me about homework questions, I suggest you not to, because we do have one TA that is designated for homework questions. Jiwan, he doesn't teach discussions, he deals with all of the homework questions. So please email him if you have any homework related questions. If you have any questions on Connect, just email him, okay? Because if you email me, the chances I probably wouldn't reply, or like I would just forward it to him anyway. So just email him directly. But if you do have, say, like, oh, I don't understand the class materials, or I don't understand what you said in the discussion, email me, please, right? I'll answer that. And if you have any question related to, like, when is this homework due? Or like, when is this quiz? It's all on the syllabus. So please check the syllabus. And also, I do not have any, I'm in no position to extend the deadline. I'm in no position to, give you another try of homework. I'm just here to teach discussion, I'll be honest. So please don't email me saying, oh, I'm sick, so I couldn't make. If you do have those kind of concerns, please email the professor, because as a TA, I'm in no position to, extend your homework deadline, or like, give another, like chance to finish whatever homework. Okay, so I'm only saying this so that you wouldn't waste your time to email me without getting replies, because I'm simply just not the one who you should contact to when you have those questions. Let's start with the materials you learned last week, right? So last week you learned real assets. So I will mostly summarize the conceptual materials. Okay, for the math formulas, you have the book. So technically, just when you're reading the book, it's better for me to just list all of the formulas. And also, when you do the homework, you have the ebook as well, so you can just check the ebook to see the formulas. And let me just get to the discussion. So last week we learned real assets, and we also learned financial assets. And will be honest, because there aren't anyone here. It's just me, basically me talking to myself. So I'll probably go very quickly instead of like having a full 50 minutes discussion, because it's just usually when we're in a physical classroom and when I write on a board, when we have interaction with students, of course it's gonna take much longer time. But when I'm just talking to myself, writing on my pad, it doesn't take that much time. So usually the discussion video is about like 25 minutes to 30 minutes, okay? And I'll usually summarize everything you need to know. So financial assets have productivity capacity. For example, land, right? Factory. So these physical materials that can actually produce goods or whatever stuff that you need. These are the these are the real assets. And we also have financial assets. So these are the ones that actually don't generate any productivity. Don't have productivity capacity. What does that mean? What is productivity capacity? Productivity capacity is, like I said, you can produce it with the goods that either the land or factory or whatever physical materials, machines you have, right? But for financial asset, think about it. Can you generate anything with stocks? Technically, stocks are just a piece of paper, right? And even you can think deeper, money. It's intrinsically useless if the government doesn't endorse any value to it. Why would you value a $100 bill more than $1 bill, technically they're just a piece of paper. They're the same. You can print 100 on it. You can print 10,000 on it. It shouldn't matter, right? Because you're just holding a piece of paper. But who gives it a value? The government, right? The government endorsed the value to it. So think about the financial asset. It's technically the same thing. Stock markets, you're just basically holding a bunch of papers, right? Until the moment that the government endorses saying like, if you sell in the stock market and it values X, Y, and Z dollars, right? And insurance, all of those kind of like, but of course, insurance isn't just technically the financial asset, but I'm only giving you an example to think about like all of these financial products that doesn't have any physical, that's not something that you can touch, but it actually has its own value, right? Financial assets is the same thing. It doesn't have any productive capacity, but it generates values. So for example, bonds, right? Stocks, treasury bills, all of these investments, right? So when we're doing investment, we generally have many options, right? We have equity, which is stocks, fixed income in securities, and when it's fixed income, usually we'll have two type of market, right? Money market and capital market. And money market is usually short-term, liquid. What does liquid mean? It means usually we say liquidify something, right? We liquidify the asset to get money. So liquid means you can easily transform what you have into money directly, right? For example, if you say, oh, I have to sell a house, it usually takes months to sell a house, which means that property isn't very liquid, right? But if you say, I have a product I can sell a stock, right? I can sell the stocks on the stock market today. So it's very liquid. Capital market, long-term, still liquid, generally have low risk. What is that? Usually bond. Bond is usually long-term, right? A year, 5 year, or like treasury bills, right? I mean, no, just bonds. A year, 5 year, or 10 years, right? And sometimes you have like short-term bonds as well. But when we're talking about long-term, it's usually low risk because most bonds are endorsed by the company or the government, right? And it's usually very liquid. If you sell your bonds today, most likely you can find some buyers who are willing to buy your bonds, right? And these are just some concepts, just kind of like have some memories about them. So when you, for example, if you encounter a multiple choice question, so what is the characteristics of capital markets? As long as you remember long-term, liquid, low risk, that should be it, right? You don't have to remember every single details of like, oh, what kind of stuffs are happening in the capital markets. That is probably too much for you to memorize, but just memorize the main ideas, main concepts about each market. So for example, financial asset, as long as you know that it doesn't have productivity, then it's fine, right? You don't have to remember exactly like what type of financial asset do we have, how many types are there. It's just impossible for you to remember everything. Just so remember the main concepts, okay? And I know that since we're talking about tax return, I know that right now you have a bunch of questions about chapter 2, question 3. I don't know why homework is saying that your answer is wrong if you're using the right formula, which is usually the dividend, let's say more accurate term is the returns you have times 1 minus the taxable rate. This is correct. It is correct. And most of you who are using these formulas should get a correct answer. However, currently it's generating, it's saying that it's wrong. I don't know why. I think maybe the check, maybe the system is wrong, something like that. But I personally think this formula is the formula that you should use. Okay. And 1 minus taxable rate. So a better way is to say return times the tax rate. Then times the tax rate. One minus tax rate. Okay. Let's turn minus this. Then over the values you have. So when I say value, it means that whatever you had initially, right? For example, if a preferred stock is $50, then this is the value you should use, right? And you should get the correct answer. I don't know why currently it's saying that it's wrong, but this should be right. Okay. And after this, you learned options. This is something that you probably want to put some time to really understand the logic behind it, right? Usually we have two options, call option and put option. So instead of thinking that something that is very difficult, I would really just think about it as a contract. Okay, and think about put option as a sell contract and call option as a buy contract. What does that mean? So when you have a bond, or when you have, say, a stock, and you anticipated that it's gonna increase the value in the future, the value is going to increase in the future. So you sign a contract, but of course, I'm not using an accurate term, but I'm only trying to make it easy to simplify it, right? You're signing a contract with someone saying, now I'm paying you, say, maybe currently the stock price is $100, and you anticipate in 2 months it's going to jump to $130. Okay, so now you're signing a contract saying I'm paying you $5, and when I exercise my contract, you have to sell your stock to me at $100. And that person said, okay, good. Why would that person say yes? Because that person might have a different idea compared to you. That person might think, well, this stock may lose its value, or this stock may not increase as much. Okay. So if it does not increase as much, he is willing to risk it that we're signing a contract that you're currently paying me $5. And if it doesn't increase beyond $100, you wouldn't even exercise it, right? Because currently the contract says you have to sell your stock at $100. Say, what if the stock jumps, what if the stock decreases, instead of increase its value, decrease to $98? Of course, you wouldn't exercise this contract, right? Because you don't want to buy the contract, you don't want to buy the stocks at a higher value right now, because in the market, it's only worth $98. If I want to buy the stocks, I can go to the market directly, right? So this person will earn $5. because you paid him for him to sign this contract, right? Now, what if your anticipation is right? You anticipate that this stock is going to increase, and you anticipate, for example, $130, and it really happened. Now you come to this person because he took the risk, right? And he actually took $5 you pay him. So now you go to this person and show him the contract. Technically, this option is the contract, right? Show him the contract saying like, well, you signed the contract saying that you have to sell me the stock at $100. And how much do you earn in this case? Well, right now the face value of the stock is $130. Once you receive the stock, you can sell it at $130, right? Minus the price that you buy it, which is $100 from this person, minus the contract. Consider the $5 as a contract fee, right? How much do you earn total? $25. That's it. So consider it as a contract. Then you don't have to just think about call option as a contract when you anticipate some stock is gonna increase its value in the future. Then what about put option? Well, of course it's easy, right? I'm thinking about it as it's gonna decrease its value. How do you sign the contract then? Well, go to this person saying, well, in the future, at some date, you have to buy my stock at $100. And that person is willing to take a risk because right now you paid him $5, okay? And say in the future, before the option is expired or before the contract is expired, quote unquote contract, the stock decreased to $80. And right now, you have to exercise your contract now, and you sell it at $100, right? How much do you earn in this case? $800 minus $80, so you earn $20, minus the contract fee you sign, which is $15, right? So this means that you're signing a contract that is actually giving you the power to exercise the contract price in the future. Is that good? Of course it's good when you earn money, right? But it has very high risk because it means that you have to have a very good anticipation about the stock you're making, you're signing the, again, quote unquote contracts with. So you're buying the options with, right? I know this could be tricky, but once you really just think about it as a contract thing, at least in my understanding, it's easy. But don't get confused. If the old way is easy for you to is easier for you to understand, then just keep your old way, okay? If the contract way is easier for you to understand, then think about it as a contract. I personally think the contract way is easier. Instead of thinking about options or whatever, it's basically just signing a contract, right? And exercising the contract when you can make profits, and forget about contracts. And just treat it as a sunk cost. Treat the contract fee $5 as a sunk cost while you couldn't make profits. What about long and short position? Very similar, okay? Short and long. And once you jump into the short and long, it's this week's materials. Short and long is the same thing. You're betting on the future. It's both the option and short and long, you're basically betting on the future, right? So that's why when you're betting on the future, of course it's risky, but the riskier it is, the higher profits it could bring, right? But of course, the higher loss you could suffer. So there's always a trade-off, right? So let's see. So short is very similar. Short is basically you're hoping or you're betting the stock price goes down, right? It's a very risky position. Why is that? Because it's going to generate a lot of profits once you are right. However, predicting stock price is probably one of the very difficult thing to do, right? Where was I? Oh, buying the stock price goes down. So stock price has many factors to influence it, right? For example, say, I don't know, I think a good example is GameStop, right? You never know what can cause a bunch of people to come together and then, you know, keep buying the same thing, keep buying the same stock out of, you know, just their intention. And their intentions could be like, oh, we don't want the giant corporates to earn everything, right? This could affect the price of the stock, right? And before 2021, we've never seen something like this happen, right? And the weather of the weather of, say, like in some countries that usually produce the agriculture foods could influence the stock price of certain crops, right? Many factors could affect that. And say if this country has a workers strike, union strike, then we don't really know. Like, we don't really know next day what's going to happen. And especially if you're on a short position, you're usually betting on the future, right? And next 3 months, who can guarantee you that nothing's going to happen? Everything just goes as you anticipated. No one, right? So it's a very risky position. But like I said, the riskier it is, the more benefits it's going to generate, right? So say that you're betting the stock price, and currently the stock price is $100, okay? And you're betting it at, what do I say that? I would just say buy low, sell high, buy low. So similar to put option. Okay, I think this makes more sense. And long position is you're hoping or you're betting the stock price to go up. So technically it's buy low, sell high. Keep in mind that this is sell high, buy low. The order matters, okay? And this is buy low, sell high. The order matters, right? Long position is right now the price is low and you're anticipating it to increase. So you buy a lot, you're hoarding lots of stocks and waiting for the moment that it goes to a certain point and you sell them so that you earn lots of money, right? Both of the positions I would say are risky. Maybe short position is riskier, but as long as you're betting on the future, it's always risky. Okay, so keep in mind that once you're betting on the future, it's just risky, and once you're making while you're making the investment, try to be wise, and so that's why let's look at the mutual funds. We don't like risk, right? So how to lower risk when you're a small investor? Well, when you're a small investor, which means you don't have lots of money to invest in the financial products, right? So mutual funds give you the chance to diversify your portfolio. And why do we like a diversified portfolio? Because we don't like risk. Diversified portfolio can lower our risk, right? Say, for example, if you put, like the saying, right? Don't put all of the eggs in one basket, right? If you put all your eggs in one basket, say if you invest all your money into one stock, and this stock decreased the price from like $100 to $20, and you invest like 10K, right? So the price of the stock decreased from $100 to $80. How much money do you lose? 2,000. Your loss is 2,000, right? However, if you diversify your portfolio, say you invest 5,000 in Google, say Google, okay? And just so you know that Google actually, from ever since last year, Google increased more than like $1,000, right? Say, for example, you invest $5,000 in Google, each share. So if you invested like 5,000 in Google, and you invest another 5,000 in, I don't know, some whatever company that isn't that famous, to diversify your portfolio, right? And this company's stock price decreased from 100 to 80. So how much do you lose? Well, $1,000, right? But you invested $5,000 in Google, and for example, if Google's original price price of the stock is 1,000, and it increased to 2,000, then for each share you actually earn 1,000, right? So 5 shares you earn 5,000. So right now you have total you have 5,000, which is the earning, plus your 5,000 originally, plus 5,000 which you invested in the other stocks, minus the loss, which gets you 14,000. So once you diversify your portfolio, even though some of the investments are losing money, but as long as majority of your investment is earning money, you will get a total of higher returning, right? You will generate profits. So that's why diversified portfolio is safer, less risky. But of course, you will ask that, well, why didn't I just invest all the money in Google? Then I would just earn like, I would just earn up to 2K, right? You're right. Because once you put all of the eggs in one basket, it's riskier. Of course, when you earn money, you're going to generate more money, more profits. So that's why diversified portfolio is safer, which means it's less risky. So that's why when it generates money, it generates a little bit less. But of course, when you lose money, you lose a lot less. And even somehow, for example, in this case, you didn't lose any money, you actually earn money. A wise investor always diversify their portfolio, right? But you don't want to diversify too much, right? Because if you put everything, like you have $10,000 and you buy 100 stocks in different companies, that's probably not the wise position, right? Because you don't have lots of money, and for each company, you didn't really earn like a lot for each share, right? So to diversify your portfolio, you have to have enough money, and mutual funds actually gives you this chance, because $10,000 isn't that much as in for an investor, right? We can call it as a small investor. But if you combine 100 small investors together, now the mutual fund is $1 million, and you invest $1 million into 100 different type of stocks, might not sound that crazy anymore, right? So mutual funds combine small investors together, right? And giving them a chance to diversify their portfolio. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the main concepts. But of course, other concepts are important, but I don't have time to go through everything. I would just suggest you to watch the lecture videos and use the discussion video as a supplement, okay? And I know homework chapter 3 and 4 is due next week, right? So let me just give you a couple formulas. The net asset value, to make your life easier, right? The net asset value is the offer price divided by 1 plus the front end load ratio, okay? And offer price equals the net asset value divided by 1 minus front end load ratio. And another formula of the net asset value is, depending on what is given, right? Total market value minus the fees divided by shares of outstanding, okay? So these formulas should help you to do the homework. It will make your life easier, so you don't have to, read the ebook like that long. Okay, I summarized this, but oh, and besides that, I just want to talk a little bit about chapter 2, question number 3. So I finally got an answer that is actually going to help you to do the question. Okay. So because the question is telling you the preferred stock, so preferred stock differs from bonds in terms of tax treatment, right? So they're not tax deductible expenses for the firm. So so that's why this formula, I have to correct myself. You can't use this one. You can't use this one. So instead, if your dividend, for example, is $4, okay, half of the dividend should be excluded when you compute the taxable income. So the taxable income should only be $2. And then you times the tax rate. For example, I think in the homework it's 30%, right? So that's 60 cents, 60 cents. And then your tax return rate should be $2 minus the 60 cents plus the original $2, which is not taxable. So it's total $3.4. And then you can calculate the after-tax rate of return. Okay, so hopefully it's going to help you, and I will also email this formula to the discussion so that you make me because I'm not sure if how many of you will watch the entire discussion video. That's pretty much it for whatever you learned for the past 2 weeks, and good luck on the quiz. I will see you next week. Okay.